Hello everyone, Hemant this sides. So guys, in our today's session we will discuss on null pointer exceptions. Null pointer exception in Java is basically a runtime exception. It means it will not code during the compile time. And first of all we will discuss on what is null. Null in Java is nothing but just a literal which can be assigned to any object reference, and it denotes or it represents that no value is assigned to that particular reference variable, and when we try to use this object reference whose value as null, then it is thrown the null pointer exception. Okay, so guys, first of all we will see in through which way we can just generate the null pointer exception, and also we will see how we can just keep away from those null pointer exceptions. Okay, so this is my test package. Inside this test package I am going to create a Java class through which we can just understand all those possible ways, or we can say few of those ways through which we can just create the null pointer exception. So this is my Java class name, null pointer exceptions test. Okay, null pointer exception is already a class, so I'm just giving the name as null pointer exception. Okay, and adding this main method here and click on finish button. So this is my program. So inside this program we will see few of the ways to generate the null pointer exception. Okay guys, so in Java there are multiple ways, as we have already discussed. So today we will see few of the way. Sometimes in our program we can select trying to access a method from the null object. We will also see the program for those. Okay, so sometimes we are trying to access few methods of our program with the help of null object. That time it throw the null pointer exceptions. Okay, and also sometimes we can say we are trying to access or modify we can say null object data fields. That time it also throw the null pointer exception. Okay, and we can say sometimes we are, for example, we are trying to get the length of null string. We can say null object or null string. Okay, we can say null object or string. Yeah, so that can also be a way. And some other way we are throwing the null value as an exception. That can also be a way. So guys, today we will discuss these four ways. So sometime interviewer ask you in your project, in your framework, where you see null pointer exceptions arise and how you resolve those exceptions. So you can just mention these multiple ways to find the null pointer exception in your program, in your framework. Okay, yeah. So guys, these are few common scenarios where we can understand the null pointer exception behavior. Okay, so first of all I am just trying to access a method from the null object. For example guys, I am just creating one method, for example name public void display. Okay, and inside this I am just printing one message. Okay, wait a moment. Yeah, so inside this I am just writing one message like welcome in useLearning.com. Okay, so here I am just creating the object of this class like np e equal to new null pointer exception test. Okay, so now I am trying to access this method. So guys, this method will be accessed successfully here. If I try to run this program, so it will just give me this particular output like welcome in useLearning.com. So as per this point, trying to access a method from the null object. If here I am just creating this object using new keywords. If I don't assign this value, it means if I assign this value as null, or we can say I forget to assign this value, or we can say I forget to create this object, that unintentionally this value has been assigned to null. And that times if I try to use, or we can say if I try to access that particular method, that time it will just generate the null pointer exception. Okay guys, so this is also one of the way. Yeah, so this is my first section. I'm just commenting this code. Okay, yeah, so guys, this is first of the way, and in the second way, like I am trying to access or modify null object data field. Null object data fields mean we can say like, yeah, for example, I'm just taking here as length. Okay, and here inside this class I'm just again creating one object. Okay, and here, sorry, yeah, okay, so here I'm creating an object, and with the help of this object I'm just assigning this value as 10. Okay, so in this times I have assigned this value for this np.length is 10. If I print this value, it will give me the value of np.length as 10. Okay, yeah, so it will just give me the value of this np.length as 10. Again the same situation is arise if I forget to assign this value, or I forget to create the object for this and the value of this suppose as null, that time again it will just throw the null pointer exception. It means here I am again trying to put the data variable for this particular object whose value as null. I'm just trying to assigning the some value for this. Okay, so it will again just generating that particular exception like null pointer exceptions. Okay, so guys, this can also be one of the way. Yeah, I am again commenting this code. Yeah, okay, so and in our other way we can say like we are trying to get the length of a null object, or we can say null string. Okay, yeah, so for example I'm just taking one string like string str equal to, for example, the same string I'm saying like uselearning.com. okay, and here I'm just printing the, we can say like not, we can say like convert this small letter to upper letter. So I'm just using this method like this. Okay, and if I execute this program, it will just generate this uselearning.com to convert this small letter to uppercase. Okay, so again the same situation arise if I set this value as null, if I assign that null to particular string, and again if I'm trying to access that particular method on that particular string whose value is null, again it will just generate the null pointer exception. It means if I perform any of the actions on that particular string object, that time it will just generate the null pointer exception. So okay guys, I think hopefully you can just understand this term very clearly. Okay, yeah, so now we will discuss on the further topic like throwing the null as an exceptions. So guys, this is also one of the part of exception handling, but here we will see like how we can just see like how we can just generate our own null pointer exception. Okay, so guys, sometimes for example in this public void display I just need to perform some actions, like for example I'm just performing this action like int, I'm just taking an int number, and inside the number I'm just dividing this number by 0. Okay, and here I'm just printing the code, this particular value, and if I execute this program, so here it will just generate the arithmetic exceptions here, and this particular line will not be executed. Okay, so if I execute this program, it will just generate the, we can say like arithmetic exceptions. What happened? No, sorry, just created the, I just forget to create the object for that particular program. Okay, null pointer exception, this equal to new. Okay, and I'm just trying to call this method. Okay, so now I am calling this. Yeah, so it is just generating me like arithmetic exceptions divide by 0. Okay, so first of all it will just print this message, and then it will just throw this exception. Okay, so guys, in this program that particular line number 9, it means here in 9. Okay, so it will just here it is just generating like arithmetic exception. It means here in this line it is just throwing the it is just throwing the arithmetic exception. It means here if I see the output on console, it is just generating arithmetic exceptions. Okay, so if I want to generate the same exceptions with the help of exceptions class object, I can also write this particular line in this way, like throw new arithmetic exception. Okay, so if I execute this program, it is just giving the same error like arithmetic exception. Okay, so it means in our program, if I intentionally want to throw any exceptions, for example that particular exceptions, this one, so it will just we can say like it will just generate that type of exceptions. So in some situations, if I send, for example, if I'm just throwing the null, okay, or we can say like if I'm throwing that particular class object whose object is assigned as null value, so again it will just generate, we can say like null pointer exceptions here. So guys, this is also one of the way. Okay, so guys, these all are some so we can say like few combinations of, we can say, generating the null pointer exception. So now we will see like how we can just keep away, how we can just avoid those null pointer exceptions from our program. Okay, so first of all guys, now we will discuss. So now I'm just commenting this code. Okay, yeah, so now we will see like how we can just keep away from those null pointer exception. So guys, I'm just discussing few of the points. So for example, first of all, we must ensure that the objects are initialized properly. Okay, otherwise if the objects are not properly initialized and the value of those objects are null, then definitely we will see like null pointer exception if we try to access those object or object reference. Okay, yeah, so we can say like there are few ways through which we can just understand that how we can just avoid the null pointer exception. Yeah, first of all, like compare string with literals. Yeah, so guys, sometimes for example we compare few values. For example, I'm just taking one string and I'm just comparing that particular string with some other strings. Okay, if both the strings are equal, then it is just generating one message for me like both strings are same. Otherwise get the message like both strings are not same. Okay, so in this situation what we basically do, like string str equal to, for example I'm saying like demo. Okay, and I'm just comparing that particular string with str dot equals, for example we can say like demo. Okay, so inside I'm just printing one message like both are same. Yeah, okay, so guys, if I print this program, it is just printing me both are same. Okay, so here if I set this value as null, if I set this value as null, then again if I try to print this program, so it will just generating the null pointer exception because I am just using this string here. Okay, so here I'm just comparing that particular object with this string. So here we should do compare string with the literals. Okay, it means if I, for example, if I print this in this way, like this one, like here I'm just printing this one demo with string object. Okay, so if this is equal, else we can say like both are not same. Okay, so if I'm just execute this program, so it is saying like both are not same. Last time it was just generating me some exception, sorry, it was just generating null pointer exception. Okay, but this time it was just generating the, it is not generating the exception, but we are just getting this value. So we should to compare string with literals in this case. Okay, yeah, so guys, the second option is we should check the arguments which we are just passing in our program, okay, in our method also. Yeah, so guys, here I'm just, for example, here I'm just taking one method, and inside this method, for example, I'm just taking one method, public string, sorry, public string display 2, and here I'm just taking one string message, okay, and here, okay, so here I'm just, we can say like printing that particular message here in this way, okay. So here I'm just, yeah, for example, inside my program I'm just, yeah, so here for example I'm just again taking one other string, and here I'm just adding that particular content, for example, welcome plus MSG, okay, this message, okay, and here I'm just return that particular value, okay. Yeah, so inside I'm just printing this message, okay. So guys, here I'm just using this particular method, yeah, and I'm just, yeah, deleting this value, okay. Yeah, so here again I'm just commenting this code, yeah, so here I'm just creating the, wait a moment, yeah, so here I'm just creating the object for this null pointer exceptions test, yeah, so here I'm just calling that particular method display2, and here I'm just passing message like in uselearning.com, okay. Yeah, so here, yeah, so if, so here in this program I'm just passing this argument as news learnings, okay. So this I'm just calling this methods, and inside this method I'm just passing this particular string, and it will just call this methods, and it will just pass this value here, and it will just print this value, okay. So here I'm just executing this program, okay, welcome in uselearning.com, or for example I can also get that particular string here in some other string, or we can just use that particular string in future, okay. Yeah, so that can also be a way. So guys, here the same thing is arise like null pointer exception in one situation, like if I pass this value as, for example, we can say like null here, if I pass this value as null, and if I trying to perform some action on this, okay, for example, it means, oh sorry, I'm just printing the message, I'm not performing any action on this. For example, after that I'm just getting the, we can say like length of this, okay, I'm just printing the length of that particular string, okay. Yeah, sorry, again it will just give me the correct answer, because I'm not performing the actions on the null here, I'm just performing the actions on, we can say like that particular string whose value is assigned as null. So here if I put this value like this and convert this as to uppercase, okay. Yeah, so if I perform these actions, that times it means I'm just passing here the value as null, and upon the null we are trying to perform this particular actions. It means if we perform some action, or if we perform some any, we can say like any, we are calling to any methods to that particular object or reference whose values as null, that times it just generated, we can say like null pointer exception at run times, as we have already discussed, like it is a runtime exceptions, okay. So how we can just resolve this exception? It means here we can say like, here in this line I am just getting the null pointer exceptions. So where we suspect like this the exception can be arise here, we can just put that particular code inside the try block, Okay, here we can just put that particular value inside the try block. Okay, so here, yeah, okay, sorry, yeah, I will just take all this code here. So for example, yeah, I'm just taking this value as this, and here again I'm bringing this value inside the this here. Okay, so finally here I'm just using the one of catch block, and inside the catch block I'm just handling that particular exception, like null pointer exception. Okay, and here I'm just printing this message, like, yeah, like ms message should not be null. Okay, and also I will just return null finally. Okay, so here we can just handle that particular, we can say like message here. So we can say we can just handle that particular exception here in this case, and we can just also write that particular message like rest of the code. So this time if I execute this program, we can just see like here I'm just passing the null value, so it will just go here, and inside the try block it finds like null value is occurring here, so it will not execute that particular program, it will just directly jump into the catch block, and inside catch block it will just printing this particular message, like message, this particular message should not be null, and the rest of code is executed properly. So if I will not try, if I don't try this particular try catch code here, then the rest of the code is not executed properly, it just generate that particular exceptions here, and the rest of the code is not executed in our program. Okay, so try catch block is also one of the way to handle the exceptions, or we can say like to handle the null pointer exceptions or other exceptions too. Okay, yeah, so guys, this is also one of the way to handle the exceptions. Okay, so now we will see like one other way, like sometimes we can say like we give the preference to, we can say string dot value of method. Okay, we can say like instead of toString method. So yeah, so we should do, we can say like give the preference, to, we can say like string dot value of method. Okay, we can say like instead of toString method. So guys, we should give the preference to string dot value of method instead of toString method. Yeah, for example, I'm just taking one string, and inside the string I'm just again taking the same message. Okay, and here inside my system.out.println I'm just trying to call this particular method. Okay, toString is basically, we can select to convert this string to strings value. Okay, so if I print this particular value, it will just generate the hugheslearning.com. Okay, so guys, if I try to give the value of this as null this times, yeah, null this time. Okay, and save the program and execute this program again. If I execute this program, this times it is just generating the null pointer exceptions. Okay, because this value is assigned as null here. So guys, a part of this particular method toString, we should to call like string dot value of this. Okay, so a part of this we should to call string dot value of, we can say like string 2. Yeah, so this time if I call the program, it is just printing me the null instead of, we can say like null pointer exceptions. So guys, we should to give the preference in our program to this string dot value of method instead of toString method. Okay, yeah, so this is also one of the, we can say like an alternate, or sorry, a way to handle the, we can say, like exception, or to just take a one precautions to understand like in which way we can just handle our exceptions. Okay, so guys, these are few way to handle the to handle the null pointer exception. There are some other way also to handle the exception, like we should to check the return value of external methods, and it means each and every times, although all the external methods which are just returning few values, we should to check those returning value first to like those values are null or not, then only we should to perform the action. In this way we can just handle the null pointer exception. And also we use the assertion in our program, assertion in Java, or we can say like, for example, in testing, we can say like in, for example, in Selenium, testng provide the we can say like assertions classes. With the help of this we can just set the assertion points over there to handle the null pointer exception or other exceptions. Okay, so guys, this is our today's sessions for null pointer exception. In our today's session we see like how we can just generate the null pointer exceptions, and how we can just take the precaution, and how we can just keep away, or how we can just avoid from those null pointer exceptions. Okay, so guys, thank you.